So one question which I mentioned earlier, are there best practices or industry standards for trade secret protection? The answer is not really no. There are a couple of initiatives going on right now that are not industry specific, both of which I'm involved with. One is the Sedona Working Group on Trade Secrets, Working Group 12, and we have a particular team that's looking at some best practices around trade secrets governance and management. There'll be a commentary coming out hopefully next year that will provide that will be up for public comment. The Licensing Executive Society is going to be issuing probably this year an ANSI standard, proposed standard around protecting IP within the supply chain, and of course one of the most important forms of IP protection that you have to worry about in a supply chain are your trade secrets. So that's going to be up for public comment. You should go look for it. It's got some interesting information as well. And that's another project that I'm drawing upon and in my own knowledge as we're here today. And how does this relate to reasonable measures? Are reasonable measures the minimum? That's a really interesting question. I think that even in some of these projects where we're trying to provide some guidance, what's happening is that no one wants to really equate best practices with reasonable measures. Nobody wants to say reasonable measures are the minimum. You would expect that there would be some alignment. But I would personally submit that in a practical manner, you really are going to want more than likely to do more than reasonable measures. One thing to keep in mind is that reasonable measures typically does not require absolute secrecy. There are some cases that state that. And, let's be real, if you've got trade secret and misappropriation, obviously something went wrong somewhere, or else you wouldn't have the theft, you wouldn't have the case. One interesting question around trade secret best practices is the notion that companies, and there are companies that don't want to share what they're doing to protect their trade secrets, and that the protection measures themselves are trade secrets. And if you think about it, it makes good sense. Like some of the measures that we take, for example, to know whether currency is being counterfeited, or just generally with respect to counterfeit goods, versus genuine goods. There are certainly things built into products that help the manufacturers or the providers of the products know that it's really the genuine article. And you don't really want to share that or make it really obvious to the general public, because then they can defeat your protection measures.